Attorney General Jeff Sessions testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee Wednesday in a regular oversight hearing. But Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation was on the minds of many in the room. Here's CBS News Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes.
It was not a simple question.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions may have recused himself from the Russia investigation, but that did not stop Democrats today from asking all about it.
You'll have to ask the special counsel.
No, I'm asking you.
They wanted to know whether Special Counsel Robert Mueller has sought to interview Sessions himself.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Are you sure?
Sessions clashed most bitterly with Minnesota's Al Franken.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have to sit in here and listen to his
You're the one who
charges
testified
without having a chance to respond. Give me a break.
Franken accused Sessions of changing his story about a meeting with Russia's ambassador during last year's campaign.
Not being able to recall what you discussed with him is very different than saying, I have not had communications with the Russians. The ambassador from Russia is Russian.
Senators wanted to know how he plans to prevent future election meddling.
I'll be frank, I don't know that we're doing a specific legislative review at this point.
Do you think it would be prudent to do
you make
review? We have been warned.
I take that as a suggestion.
Republican Ben Sasse asked if the U.S. is doing enough to combat Russian interference online.
Probably not. We're not.
Sessions did eventually confirm in that hearing that he has not been asked to sit for an interview in connection with the Russia probe, but reiterated that he is committed to cooperating and that he had no improper conversations, Elaine, with any Russians about the 2016 campaign.
Well, Nancy, senators lobbed 9 months worth of questions essentially at Attorney General Jeff Sessions Wednesday. There were a lot of heated moments. Do you think that the lawmakers got the information they wanted?
Democrats definitely did not feel like they got the information they wanted. Every question that they asked Sessions that had anything to do with conversations that he has had with the president, he declined to answer, invoking the notion of executive privilege and the fact that his conversations with the president, advising the president, are private and should remain so. That was incredibly frustrating for Democrats, who said that his definition was too broad. It didn't meet the classical definition of executive privilege, and that he was just doing it to get out of answering their questions. Sessions argued that the president's advisors need to have the ability to speak freely with him, and they can't if they're going to recount those conversations to members of Congress.
Well, Mr. Sessions was asked 3 times by Senator Leahy whether he'd been interviewed by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, and Sessions eventually answered no. Did that come as a surprise?
Yeah, for a while there in the hearing, and it wasn't just Leahy who asked him about this, he really tried to avoid saying yes or no, not so much because he didn't know, but because it seemed like he wanted to refrain from making any declarative statements about this investigation whatsoever, since it isn't in his purview. He is completely recused. It is the purview of the special counsel. So he tried at first to say, well, I'll leave that to the special counsel. I'll check with him to see whether I can say anything. But when that didn't really fly with Democrats, eventually he said, okay, no, I have not been asked to sit for an interview. In fact, he got a note passed to him by a member of his staff at DOJ at one point in the hearing, reiterated that, in fact, his office has not been contacted. At this point, doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but at this point, his office has not been contacted to request an interview with Sessions.
And as we saw in your piece, Nancy, the Attorney General also said the Justice Department isn't specifically reviewing plans to combat election hacking. Could this now be taken up by Congress?
Well, actually, what he was asked was whether DOJ is looking at ways that legislation should change in the wake of this election hacking and to prevent future hacking. And that's what Senator Whitehouse of Rhode Island, a Democrat, was so worked up about. He said, look, I've been trying to find someone at DOJ to talk to about this for months, someone who's the point person in law enforcement who's looking at how we should should change our laws to better protect the United States from election interference in 2018 or 2020. He said, I can't find anyone. So what are you doing on this front? We've been warned by the entire intelligence operation in this country that the Russians are going to try to do this again. So, we should be on DEFCON 5 here. Where's the legislation that you're proposing? And that was when the Attorney General essentially admitted he didn't really know that they were doing any work to look into what kind of legislation might be helpful. It's possible that it is happening at DOJ, but if it is, the Attorney General is not aware of it.
All right, Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill for us. Nancy, thank you.
You're welcome.